Hello, head teachers.
Hello, I'm Meryl up in the northeast of England. I'm a trained secondary science teacher and now work as the regional facilitator in the northeast of England.
Yeah, and I'm based down on the south coast, my geography specialism. Welcome to this National Day of Climate and Nature CPD. So what we've got is about 10-15 minutes of what we're hoping going to be really direct, simple training for you to be able to inspire you to take some next steps. What we also wanted to do was just mention that at the end of last academic year, we hosted a great teacher celebration event, which really highlighted the wealth of knowledge, experience, people in the climate and nature education space. And we just wanted to emphasize how rich a tapestry that is. And I know, Meryl, you're really well connected with lots of the people and organizations happening as well.
Okay, are we ready to go?
We are. Let's go. So we wanted to start with the why. And the first why is from a moral imperative. We're all human beings. We all live on planet Earth. We're all part of society. What's going on in terms of the climate and nature crisis, Mel?
Okay, so we have got some serious issues, and these issues are going to impact young people more even than they're impacting people of my age. So we have an image here, and it shows the two sets of stripes. The top set of stripes, the blue to the red, are called the warming stripes. And Ed Hawkins from Reading University created these as a visual way to really, show the impact of what's happening with our climate. The blue stripe on the far left is around about 1970. The red stripe on the far right is it's about 50 years later. So approximately over my lifespan, this. And you can see it's gone from blue to, slightly into pinks and now into deep reds. The planet has warmed about 1.5 degrees already. 2024 was the warmest year on record. 2025 summer looks like it's probably the hottest in the UK. You can see that you can feel the change in our classrooms as they get hotter and hotter. So young people who are entering year one now or early years now are being born in this really deep red zone. And now it's just going to get warmer until we stop burning fossil fuels, until we change our agricultural practice. It's going to get hotter. So young people need to be prepared for how to manage that heat and understand how we can help, how we can be part of the change. The bottom set of stripes are called the biodiversity stripes, set up by Miles Richardson, again from about 1970 to the present day. And when I was born, it was a lush green and pleasant land, shall we say. And over the years, farming impacts, climate, pesticide use has meant our biodiversity has declined. And it's seriously declined. The latest data is really quite shocking. So again, young people born today are seeing a much greyer planet than they would have done 50 years ago. And I think these stripes just help us visualize how serious it is and what that trend is like.
Yeah, and we've got some warming stripes that we take to schools, and we've seen really great ways of using these in the classroom. And I really like that illustration as well over the top of it. Helps to
I know,
to
it's like makes
communicate
it.
it to the younger audience, doesn't it? Yeah. So just in terms of people, if they wanted to di dive deeper into this, we've got Meryl's made these with Docu B series, which explores things like the state of the climate report, state of nature report, and these are again quick snapshots to go even deeper into some of those numbers to understand what is happening to our planet now. The climate that you grew up in doesn't exist anymore.
And it's really, the science is really complicated. And so, the scientists have been talking about this for many years, but the science is complicated. And when you actually look at the data, so all I try and do is make it a little bit more simple to understand the big numbers, what they mean, and, what we can do to take action in schools.
And then, as Meryl referenced as well, we increasingly are getting these headlines. The Met Office just recently said that the summer is likely to be the warmest on record. That's one of a handful of kind of headlines from the Met Office that have come out over the summer. We've experienced that, we've felt it. It might be that the conversations you have with people is, oh, how great the summer was, but it's completely out of the norm, or it is our new norm in the sense that it's getting warmer and warmer, and that's something that we're all living with and experiencing, and we do understand.
Indeed.
And
So,
then.
yeah, so people don't talk about it very much. And actually, when you do ask people, do you care? Do you want to take action? Internationally, the level is 80% of people want to take action, they want their governments to take action on climate to make the situation better. In the UK, it's over 86% of people. So whatever you see in the press that, it's a no-no and the green transition isn't going to be affordable and all the rest of it, 86% in the UK want action on climate. So, I think we're part of education is vital to make sure, not only our students in our classrooms are aware of that everybody wants to take action, but also in our communities, in our wider school community, that
Mm.
we really, that, and this was taken from the People's Climate Vote 2024, the world's biggest climate survey. So, these are facts from the United Nations.
Yeah, and I think it's that sense of you might think that you're an outlier if you're taking action, but actually this is a really common attitude. There is the Climate Majority Project, which is also communicating this sense that actually we do all agree this is the common attitude, but it's because we don't talk about it, we're not open about these sorts of things
And it's driving decision making. So 69% say that climate is impacting big decisions in their lives, whether to not to have children. If you think that the planet is, not changing fast enough to keep up with, this human induced climate change, actually that is a huge decision. And even in my lifestyle, I'm not flying anymore, and I try and grow fruit and vegetables on my in my garden, to try and do my part, so all decisions in the long term will be climate induced decisions or
What
climate
we're
related.
saying is, if you as a teacher are not engaging with this, it's a big chunk of people's thinking and part of their lives. If you in your teaching are not engaging with this, that's a big part that you're missing out on. And so it's important to sort of weave this throughout. The next why might be, and we think of it as more of a secondary one, we think the moral is the beginning, and then it's, well, okay, what's expected of us professionally? And so increasingly there is more and more expected from the Department for Education. Meryl, there's three key initiatives, isn't there,
There's
that the
three key
government is
initiatives that
doing?
the Department of Education, so they have a climate and sustainability strategy. It is being reviewed, and we know the curriculum's also being reviewed, but the main three strands that can provide help: climate ambassadors can come into your school. If you sign up with STEM Learning, there's the Climate Ambassador Hub, and local people from business or charities, from other educators can come into your school to help. There is the Sustainability Support Hub, which provides resources. I prefer ours, but hey, I'm biased. And then there are the
Education Nature Park,
education,
led by
yes,
Natural
National
History
Education,
Museum and the RHS. Yeah,
National
those are the three.
Education Nature
And
Park.
then there are, other kind of periphery, other things in the
Yeah,
space
Let's
as
Go
well.
Zero is a huge
With
one,
particularly
helping.
climate action plans as an emphasis for people to have this pathway to net zero. But I think what we would say is that curriculum really is the core of what we think. It's the fundamental of what a school's doing. It's the day to day. It's the thing that every young person experiences whilst at the school. And so we really wanted to emphasize this sense that there is like a jigsaw. We've put together this diagram that helps kind of bring it to life. That it's all kind of interlinked, it's all complementary, and there's this wealth of organizations who are often providing free support. And it's the sort of thing that I know teachers struggle in terms of having the capacity, so many different priorities, but there really is no excuse not to accept this sort of support and help. There are people out there
Well,
with yeah.
the government's strategy says that all schools should have a sustainability lead by the end of 2025. So this term, effectively, if you haven't got one already, your school is expected to have one. And as the curriculum changes, as the DfE address some of these gaps in the curriculum, it's likely that role is going to be really quite important to help teachers across the school take sustainability and put it into the ethos of the school. That should be driven down by senior leadership as well.
Yeah, it's about having a kind of a whole school strategy approach and for it to be a shared responsibility as well, because I'm sure people watching this might be they think of themselves as the kind of one person in the school who's got that responsibility, but actually it's something that every teacher should be considering.
And even up to governors, local authorities. There's a bigger picture,
Yeah.
being drawn out, and the landscape is changing. But definitely changes is happening now.
And I think the other thing that this diagram illustrates is that sense that we think of sustainability in its broadest sense, that yes, carbon and climate action plans is part of that, but equally the curriculum. And then also to be truly sustainable, you need to engage with the local community. And you might be doing that, but not considering it as part of sustainability. It could be through a wildlife trust, school, visits. It could be inviting in the local community. But the other piece as well is that forest schools and outdoor learning. There's been this growth over the last few years in interest around forest schools, but also weaving that throughout the rest of the curriculum and understanding that it should be part of everything.
There's a huge network of people providing support into schools to try and, green your school, in terms of your school grounds, in terms of purchasing, in terms of the curriculum, loads and loads of support. And one of the things we do as the Ministry of Eco-Education is try and rationalise that and make it more simple.
Yeah, so what we've done as a group of teachers with kind of different interests and specialisms and age groups and all those sorts of things is share our experience and bring it together by finding all of the different free resources and opportunities from hundreds of organizations. And rather than just being a website that is a sort of database of those and sort of allows you to go and explore them yourself, we've tried to add value by weaving them together into series of what we call learning journeys framed by big questions. And we use 7 key themes to help try and give a bit of a structure to what can be a quite a vague statement around sustainability. What do we really mean by sustainability? So we've got these 7 key themes. And actually, Meryl, there's a bit of a hierarchy to them, isn't there?
There is. So the 7 themes are energy, food, nature, society, transport, waste, and water. Now, the ones that impact, the main areas of those that impact our climate the most severely are energy, where we get our energy from, our food, how we make our food and grow our food, and also transport, how we get around. Actually, if you look at your climate action plan for school, a lot of those impacts will be down to transport, how people are travelling around to get to school and also on school trips. And so if we tackle those three, that's great. But it's bigger than that. We know that, water, waste, nature and society have huge implications for not only our own well-being but also our role in society, and our impact on society, our impact on our environment. So there is a little bit of a hierarchy, but they're all, those 7 themes. It's the thing that pulled me into the Ministry of Eco-Education right at the very start. Was one of the questions was, what does it take to make a cup of tea? And actually, it's hugely complicated when you start to break it down. A great question to ask young people, and one that actually in the energy section, because of transport and because of international trade and things, but it impacts on all of them.
So the Ministry of Eco-Education framework, informed by the Green Britain Group, by Dale Vince, lots of the businesses who are making a Green Britain right now. So that's kind of informing that structure and helping us to kind of create that. But the key thing then is there's a website with loads of learning journeys framed by big questions, so a series of lessons. They're designed to be flexible, inspiration for you to be able to take a few activities, to take a whole question, a whole series of lessons. It's up to you, but it's there to get you thinking more and reflecting on your teaching.
Absolutely, and it's hugely flexible, so you can just dip in and out. You don't need to do a whole series. The series of big questions all have about 8 different lessons below them, but you can just pick and choose. And we link out to resources that are incredible. We haven't created all of the individual resources. We link out to the wildlife trusts or the RSPB or organisations who really know their field. And so we've built lessons, a whole program, a scheme of work around some fantastic resources for you to use in your classrooms.
So,
So
step one, Meryl.
step one, my goodness, how do you start as a head teacher? The first thing you should be aware of, there is some strategy, climate and sustainability strategy for schools, and there's some advice on the government website about sustainability leadership and the expectation that your school will have a climate action plan and a sustainability lead by the end of 2025, so by the end of this term.
And then your friend David has
My
written a
friend David,
book.
who he lives just down the road from me,
Yeah.
has written an amazing book. It's a really, really good handbook for teachers to think about leadership for sustainability in their school. Now, you will need to delegate because you cannot drive this, but it's about setting the ethos for your school. So all of those really important things that you think about in your school, sustainability should be one of those now.
And then I guess we just wanted to highlight this work from the UCL's Climate Action Unit, where it's really important from a head teacher's perspective that you don't isolate this and think about it as, just about the environment and a bit of a marginal issue. This is all encompassing, and it's something that needs to permeate every aspect of your school. And I'm sure it's something that you as a head teacher have already experienced in terms of the hot temperatures. There's teachers coming to you saying, look, we can't work under these conditions, or, the school's not sort of ventilated enough, or what are the
Or just the
uniform
mountains of
expectations?
waste that you have to deal with. How can you address that? And how can you take the whole school community along with you? So but the leadership, in my experience, the leadership is absolutely central. If you've got poor leadership on sustainability, there's no direction of travel, and it makes the individual teachers feel very much alone. That little bit of leadership from the front and delegation is hugely rewarding.
We've seen that, haven't we, with schools we've visited, that leadership can enable people to really maximize their potential. And actually, we've also seen it where teachers feel so frustrated within their setting because their head teacher or the senior leadership just aren't listening and don't care. And
And they
actually,
move.
yeah, they move. They often, and we won't name names, but we've definitely heard stories of people who've done that. Okay. Step two, then. So this is really getting the ball rolling. You've set that vision, but what you need to do is engage the school community. You need to send out letters. You need to survey the students and the staff. And that's something that we have pulled together, again, all of these third-party resources to really help you do. Check out the five-step whole school journey that we've created that really gets you moving on that journey.
Because there'll be a lot going on already, and there'll be a lot of people in your community that care, and want to be able to help, and you might just not have tapped into that yet.
Yeah, it's about finding people's interests, passions, and really maximizing that. And then the next one, then, Meryl, is about mapping, isn't it?
Yeah, so when you say let's map the school, in terms of sustainability, that's a complicated thing for some people to do. What's sustainability? What's it mean, and how does it link? So what we've suggested is that you've asked all of your staff, especially heads of department, to map where things happen in which year group which relate to sustainability, i.e., energy, transport, food, waste, water, society, and nature. They will be covering it, but you might find whole gaps in departments. Classic ones are English and maths, and they might not be putting much about sustainability, about these important topics into their curriculum. And so when children start learning about environmental issues, they think, oh, it's geography or science, but it's not. It's everything we do. That society one is key, because it's actually how we think of ourselves as a society that can really drive change. Getting individuals to take action is one thing. Getting school communities to take action is a whole nother ballpark in terms of potential impact. And then the wider community, other schools in your area, and the people around you. So schools can be central hubs, and it's a real responsibility for head teachers. I know that there's behaviour issues, funding issues, building issues, all sorts of issues in staffing, but this one is key, and people really do care, and young people are increasingly going to think about, and be influenced by how the school journey is addressed.
Yeah, and I guess so. What this step also suggests is it's about looking for staff training opportunities, looking at the organisations that provide those, what fits in, who's best to go and do those. Also looking at the school site, and that's one that connects really well with the Education Nature Park initiative. That idea of looking at the school site as a learning resource, but also how can you improve the biodiversity across the school site. And then also there's things like accreditation and awards. One that we're going to mention in a minute links to that, but also yeah, there's plenty of those sorts of things that you might choose as a bit of a carrot to be able to encourage more people. We just wanted to signpost another great video on our YouTube channel that you, as a head teacher or as maybe a deputy curriculum or someone with responsibility around the broader school curriculum, if you want to find out more about how we've created this framework and what's gone into it and all the different scientific academic research and thinking and resources that we've woven together, there's a video to watch all about that. And then the very last one, which is the kind of icing on the cake, Meryl.
I know that people put up Ofsted posters and saying we are a such and such school, and but actually saying that you care about, earth and environment is so, and that you're putting it into the heart of your school. So you can apply with a simple form just to say what you're doing in terms of your curriculum, in terms of your school, to become a Ministry of Eco Education school.
Yeah, so definitely go check out that form. Head teachers, you've got your work cut out. Hopefully, these are some good steps for you. We also are here as a resource, so do get in touch with us if you want any more direct support. But otherwise, thank you so much.
We have a good team of people willing to try and help. Okay, thank you. Good luck with the
Bye.
new academic year.